Yeah, I think those talks are ongoing. I think we're at the beginning of all of that. But, we all know how we feel about him. And I think navigating this process, we have a very good relationship with his team. And I'm confident, that Justin Herbert's going to be our quarterback for a long time, and that we'll make sure that we get a great deal done.
Would you like to have that done before you guys open training camp?
I don't know. I think, these contracts are really complex. You're talking about a lot of different things, and there's other quarterbacks certainly that are going through the same thing right now. So just be patient. But the major takeaway is that Justin Herbert is going to be our quarterback, and we're so excited that he's leading our franchise.
Where do you think currently stand with Austin and his team?
Yeah, Eckler. Yeah, I mean, the respect for Austin, I think, from our side of things is, at the highest it could be for a player. Since I've become the head coach, I think just a pillar of our offense, one of the team leaders. So I think our respect for him is high. I know that, the position that he's in, we're certainly respectful of. And I think there's been great communication with his team. And so we're understanding of that position. We're going to go through this process. I know that Tom and I want him to be a part of our football team. We see him as someone that's going to help us win a world championship, but we're also respectful of the position that he's in within his career and what he's looking for too. So we're going to be patient, but we love Austin Eckler.
So is there still a chance that you guys will iron something out and he would be on the team next year? Or is that
that's fair to say. No, that's fair to say. Yeah.
He's still under contract with you guys.
He is.
Has he had any discussion when he pulled out or anything like that?
It hasn't gotten to that point yet. I mean, but I think that it's been a good process to go through with him, and he knows the way that we feel about him. And I think that because of our relationship, from the organizational side with our ownership and personnel, coaching, we'll make our way through this.
Is there any concern? You went through a measure of during when training camp started.
No, you just respect the person and the competitor, and you know what you're getting with Austin Eckler, so no concerns.
What was, the motivation behind allowing him to seek a trade, just sort of understanding the situation?
Yeah, I just think, these situations happen, at different points in players' careers, and when it happens, you just communicate fully. We listen to their team, they listen to us, and, and again, this is part of the business of the NFL. And so, to me, it's not a big deal. It's part of it. And as long as the respect factor is high on both sides, there'll be a good conclusion. When that is, I don't know. But I know the way we feel about him. And to me, that's really what's most important, is the way we feel about him.
Through this process, do you guys have to contingency plan in case Austin were to leave? So in free agency, you're either running backs or in the draft, are you particularly targeting running backs? Just the off chance that Austin does get a deal and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I think that where Austin's at is in his career, and based on our running back situation, we're always going to look to, upgrade a position group. But, we know who we have in Austin Eckler, who's a Pro Bowl caliber player, a difference maker. And so I think it would just be to complement our football team through the draft process or other acquisition. But, yeah, we're always planning for those contingencies, and we'll see where it goes because, these things take some time. So. I haven't thought that far ahead, but I see him. He's under contract for us, and I know that what we've accomplished together. Kind of that's what my focus is. Hey, we've had 2 really special years together. We had a vision for this guy, and he's certainly done his part. He's lived up to everything that we could have hoped for, and I think we've lived up to what we said we would do for him too. And so that's why I say the respect factor is high, and we'll see where it goes.
How do you feel like free agency went for you guys, that initial wave of it?
Yeah, Lindsay, this year was a lot different, this free agency period. I thought what we did last season was really make some key acquisitions to really solidify the way we want to play on both sides of the ball, to really get in, and in the kicking game. Because I think people forget about the investment we made in our kicking game last year, which really paid dividends. And I think that investment, what you saw this year, is just us being able to kind of re-sign our core guys. We were able to get Trey Pipkins back at right tackle. We felt that was a really significant move for us. We were able to re-sign Morgan Fox. We were able to re-sign our punter, J.K. Scott, who we feel like is a weapon for us. And then, you're able to add, a key acquisition, a big-time acquisition to Eric Kendricks. But we feel really good about our football team. And obviously there's still process, from now into the draft and after the draft. As you guys saw what we did last year after the draft, there's still, that window too. So we'll see where it goes, but we feel really good about our football team.
Given your relationship, Kellen Moore being there, is Zeke an option for free agency? Is someone y'all doing your homework on?
Yeah, I mean, we have to do homework on, all the players in the league. I think with Kellen and Doug both being in Dallas, we know Zeke well. We've competed against Zeke, this year in the training camp and then last season. Have known about him for a long time, so a lot of respect for him, and we'll see where it goes.
Getting back to Kellen, can you just talk about your relationship with him, how that came about, and what you expect him to bring?
Yeah, I think teaming up with him has been a highlight for me. So much respect for him from afar. I think my first game as a defensive coordinator was against Kellen when I was with the Rams. Being a former quarterback, I really paid attention to his career at Boise. I think 50-3 in his starter. I remember we were joking about him just like lighting up Georgia. I just remember that game so vividly. And he has all the quarterbacking stuff. And I think he's exemplified all that as a coach. Getting into coaching right away, becoming an offensive coordinator, and then leading one of the most prolific offenses in the league. And no one knows that better than me because I had to go against the guy. And then I think for us to spend a lot of time up close this year. In the practices, I was able to get, probably either a better friendship with him, stayed in touch through the season, and then, for us to be able to onboard someone like him, it's been huge for me and our staff. He's fit right in. He's been great with our players. I think, reaching out to our players already, and that relationship part is very core to how we do things at our place, and he really fits that. And he just has a great way about him, and I'm really excited to team up with him.
Him and Herbert, how's he going to help Herbert take the next level?
I just think that Justin, I've said this to people, there's so much inside Justin Herbert. I have so much confidence in where his game can go. He's accomplished so much already, but there's so much left in him, to tap into. And I think that Kellen, with his experience as a player, his experience as a play caller, I think I was really attracted to the work he did with Dak Prescott. Seeing where Dak was as a player and seeing where he is now. That body of work speaks for itself. The development of Dak and not only becoming a tremendous quarterback, but a team leader and really the face of a franchise. So Kellen was instrumental in that process. He's been around some special guys. He was around Matthew Stafford as a player. And so, I think that experience is invaluable. And then, the other thing that I really admire about Kellen is what he did with Cooper Rush this year. You find out about a coach when you're playing your backup quarterback for 5 games and you go 4-1. You find out about the stuff that you're made of, and so that was really impressive to me, and I think he's going to be great for Justin and our entire offense and our football team.
One more question. He's interviewed for some head coaching jobs, and obviously the success he had in Dallas, but he might, obviously had some philosophical differences. Do you think a fresh start, new team is good for him and for his next step?
Yeah, I think sometimes in sports that's what happens. Sometimes you do need, a fresh start, or there's an opportunity for a fresh start, and it can really be beneficial. It can kind of be, kind of a launch pad for you. So I know that us teaming up, I couldn't have asked for anything more. I think that we're so aligned philosophically, and but there's differences in that I think complement. I think we complement one another at the same time, and I'm really excited for our football team to get to be around Kellen Moore.
Why did you guys decide to?
I think it was more about the opportunity to onboard Eric Kendricks. Very appreciative for Drew. I thought Drew played really well for us, and I wish him a lot of luck in Kansas City. It's part of the tough part of this position is seeing people that you care about, see people who played well for you move on. But I think this is more about the opportunity to add, what we feel like is one of the best linebackers in the NFL. A guy that I know a lot about, a guy that really fits where we're trying to go defensively. Feel like he can bring a lot to our defense in the middle of it. And so it was really more about, being able to onboard a guy like Eric. But Drew was fantastic for us, and, I'm, certainly, rooting for him.
What are the things specifically that Eric's going to bring to the defense that maybe will be better than what
Yeah, I think, Eric's pedigree, he's been in the NFL 7 or 8 years, and, they've been a top 5 defense in Minnesota the entire time. I was in the division 2017, 2018. Played against him in 2019 when I was in Denver. Played against him my first year as a head coach here. He's one of the most complete linebackers in the last decade. You're talking about 5 to 7 players that are as complete of a linebacker as he is. His instincts, his key diagnose, his ability to communicate, that energy in the middle, a true commander, a tackling machine, sideline to sideline, in the box, the physicality. He's one of the best passing game linebackers in the last decade. He comes from a pattern match scheme and Mike Zimmer, which is how we play. So the scheme transition is seamless. And we know a lot about him. We got Ryan Ficken here. We got Jeff Howard here, who coached him intimately. My best friend's Jonathan Gannon, who was with him. And we just feel like this guy has a lot of the stuff that the championship defenses are made of. And, I'm really, really excited to team up with him.
Tight end has been a pretty big position for Kellen. What's kind of your guys' vision for your tight end room right now?
Yeah, Lindsay, I like where we're at. We were able to get Donald Parham back, which, I know that he didn't get to show what he could do last year, but I think you guys that have been with the team know that we feel like he's a weapon. We were able to get, Gerald back, and I thought that Gerald, he had his best season for us last season. We need to get more from Trey next season for sure. Stone Smart's an up-and-coming player that we think has potential, but that position is, when you can find it, it changes the way people have to play you. And Kellen's had a lot of success playing that way. We've had a lot of success in the past playing that way at other places I've been. So I believe it as a head coach. Gaps and vertical threats is how you really stress defenses. So, I think we have a good room right now, but we're always looking to add.
How do you feel about the blocking?
Yeah, I thought it was up and down last year, Daniel. I think our run production would say as much and needs to improve.
So will Eric be the green dot?
We haven't gotten that far, but it's natural for him. So I there's still time to make that decision, but that's one of the reasons why he's one of the best, is his ability to connect and command in the middle. And so that's what he's done his whole career. I don't want to make any, blanket statements right now, but he definitely, that's what he's known for. Trending that way. Good to see you. Sean's done it before. That's one of the reasons why Sean is the head coach of the Bills, and they're certainly running his defense, since he's become the head coach there. So I think it's a natural it's a natural transition for him calling the plays because he's done it before. I think managing the football game, it's the same as for an offensive coach. You're going to rely on other people to manage the game. It's not a one-person job. It never has been. Even for offensive coaches, it's not a one-person job. So you're relying on your coordinators. You're relying on your game management, people up in the box. And so it's a team. You need a team in order to manage the game. Sean's got a lot of experience now as head coach. He's been a head coach since 2017. So he's been through it. Been in the NFL a long time. So he's one of the top coaches in the game.
Going against the first-year starting quarterback, is it pretty much a given? You're coming after him. What's kind of the thinking?
No, I think it's different player to player because you're not just defending one guy. You're defending 11. So I think it depends on the scheme that he plays in and what type of player he is. They're not all the same. I think it's player to player. But I think what you're always trying to do is make young players see something that's not there. And whether that's pressure or coverage, whether it's trying to activate some different personnel groupings that they haven't seen. What you're trying to do is bank on that they don't have as much, inventory of experience as a Tom Brady or a Drew Brees or an Aaron Rodgers, a guy that's played, 15 to 20 years. So that will always be part of the calculation playing against a young player.
In terms of the offensive line, obviously brought Trey back. You've gone from that. A lot of conclusions that Jamari would move into left guard. Is that what you guys are expecting?
Yeah, I think that's his natural position. But as he proved last year, we know that Jamari can play outside. But we kind of feel like he's best suited to play inside. A lot of his, I think, strengths as a player fit better inside. To have him and Zion and Corey in the middle of your pocket, that's certainly what you want to design, from an offensive line standpoint. When you have that type of anchor in the middle, athleticism, and then when your tackles that are athletic, like Trey and Rashawn are, they have the range and the athleticism to kick to these rushers. So we like where we're at right now. I feel like the investment in our drafts, my first 2 years, Tom and JoJo, their belief system and investing in our offensive line, it's really paying off, and I'm really proud of where we're at right now.
As far as the depth on Will Clapp, such a running back, as far as swing guard, you have behind this right now. So what's the plan to building out the depth?
Yeah, I think there's some guys that you don't know about too that are on our team. Zach Bailey's done a heck of a job for us. Foster Sorrell, like those guys are developing players too that got some action last year that proved to us that they're developmental, that they can be a factor in the NFL. And then there's that process that you're talking about after the draft, and then during the obviously at the draft we'll always be looking for linemen.
Looking ahead to the draft, have you guys kind of narrowed down what position you might be targeting for the first round?
Yeah, Lindsay, this draft to me, I think where we're picking, it's wide open. I think, certainly with where the quarterbacks are going, how many go, that's going to impact. It's going to push everybody back a little bit. And so, kind of like last year, the board opened up for us at 17, and hopefully we're picking in the late 20s for a long time, 30s. You just want the board to open up because it creates more options for you. And I think at this draft, sort of later in the first round, early second round, there's going to be a bunch of good players there to draft. I know that Tom and I feel that way about this draft. As of right now, yeah. We're glad that we have Easton Stick back. Yeah, but we've seen him play. You guys may not have seen him play, but we get to see him play. We believe in Easton Stick. He's gotten better. My first 2 years there, he's gotten better and better. And a lot about being a young quarterback is just that developmental process. It's getting a chance to improve. And I think that's what he's done for 2 years, and he's shown us enough that we wanted to re-sign him. He's a great fit for how we want to play. I know that bringing in Kellen and Doug, Tamar, Chandler, like that quarterback room, I mean, we feel very strongly about him. I know, Tom and JoJo and John and Ed, who drafted him, they've seen the improvement. And so I just feel like he's the right guy to be coaching, and he and Justin have a really good relationship, and it's a great quarterback environment with those two. So, I'm excited to bring him back for sure. Yeah, I think it's the way that, I've talked about the way he teaches, the way he leads. I think, philosophically, you just kind of are aligned with certain people. And I think the way that he sees the game and the way that he can communicate to coaches, to players, to truly build an offense. I've been such a fan of his for a long time. A lot of respect. I've had to go against him, and I've had to defend him, in different points of Dallas. Like when my first game as defensive coordinator, they had a right tackle issue. Terrence Steele was starting, and they were kind of hurt on the O-line. I saw him really navigate that process, onboarding a rookie receiver, CeeDee Lamb. I think seeing what he did with those three receivers with Gallup, Cooper, CeeDee, the two tight ends, that Schultz and Jarwin, who were fantastic before he got hurt. And then, the work he did with Zeke and Pollard, I just thought that, that was as tough of a cover as I've had to go against in the NFL. And then to see him morph through the years, they went through a ton of O-line transition last year. And the sign of a good coach is being able to figure it out. He was dealing with injuries at receiver. They played 5 games with a backup quarterback, and they went 4-1. They're, a quarter, a drive away from going to the NFC Championship game. And so I just think that this guy's got proven production, and then how he leads, how he teaches, we see that things very similar that way. And I think the way that he creates was exciting for me. I knew that he could make us better as a football team, as a coaching staff, as an organization, and to be able to get someone like him, it's been awesome teaming up with him. Yeah, I think anytime you can get a play caller that's played that position, it's an advantage. Just because you're building it through your quarterback, through your eyes of your quarterback. But I also think what's also underrated, because people talk about that one-to-one, like, well, play caller to quarterback. But the other thing a quarterback understands is it's about your whole offense. And that's why I bring up the O-line. That's why I bring up, hey, when he's down a couple receivers, like the quarterback knows when all that's happening, how you need to play. And so I think him having that big picture of understanding how to play and how you fit in with the framework of a team. This guy, I mean, he's been around great ball. He's been around, winning football. Like when I think of Kellen Moore, I think of 50-3 at Boise. I think of Dallas Cowboys, like one of the top teams, in the NFL. This guy understands, winning football, and I was excited because I know he's going to help me a lot, help our program, and I'm really excited about him.
When you guys are building your roster and looking at your team over the offseason, how much attention is paid to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and what you need to do for those guys?
Well, that's a good question. I think you start with your division because you play those guys 6 times a year, maybe more in the playoffs. So, but I think you always have to look within your team, how you want your team to look. And you're aware of the landscape of the NFL, but I think it's really building the team that you want to build. And I know that, I think what's tough now is like when you start comparing yourself to everyone on the outside, to beat one team, well, you got to beat 30 other teams, and that's the reality of the NFL. It's like you got to engineer your team to beat everybody. And I think that's something that like fans, people on the outside that you have to understand is like your team's got to be able to go anywhere, any place, any time of the year, any style of team, and you got to be able to go win. And so that's what we're trying to do is really focus on the Chargers. And I love the way that we've built this team through 2 years. We've got, a big opportunity here in the springtime and, to be able to take on anybody and feel like you're the team to beat.
And then, what's the natural tug-of-war there between the offense and the defense? For the defensive coach, for you, to say we got to go be the best defense and stop these kind of guys. But for the offense, it's like they just want to see the ticker roll up with how many points they can score.
Well, it's always going to be a scoring league. Right now, you got to score the ball. And I think that, that's where things have changed because of the rules. You have to be able to score the ball to win. And no one knows that more than me. I'm not a defensive coach. I'm the head coach. So, you got to do what it takes to win. And I know that we know how to defend. And, I know that what needs to be done is you need to score more than the opponent. And right now you're seeing some of the best quarterbacks that the league's ever seen. And you're seeing some of the most prolific, offenses that especially in the passing game that the NFL's seen. And so, you got to be able to score the ball. And we're fortunate that we have a quarterback, that we feel like can beat anybody on any given Sunday or whenever we play. And it's always going to be, with the way it is now, you got to be able to score. So that's where our focus is going to be, is trying to score more than the team we're playing.
How has JC got any more clarity on his timeline when he might be back?
No timeline. Just he's at the facility, kind of same as improving. I think it's been good to see him, on a day-to-day basis. That part I've enjoyed, just being able to see him, because, sometimes these guys go other places. So to be able to see him every day, but no timeline. And I think as we get closer to, springtime, the OTAs, practices, we'll be able to tell you more.
Brandon, how do you know where he's going to kind of fit? Just with last season, it was a little bit touch and go with kind of getting him into the system, getting him going, and then he gets hurt. So how do you know kind of where he's at as far as what you want to do with him? Yeah,
Liz, I think that's a good question. What we try to do is really look at training camp. That's when our purest evaluation of J.C. Jackson occurred, and we love J.C. Jackson. We got a lot of belief in this guy as a player. He showed us, if you guys were at training camp, he showed us exactly why we went out and signed him. And so we have that belief in him. We know what type of player he is, and we're excited to work with him and get him to playing at the level we know he can play at.
In terms of the interior defensive line, you brought Morgan back, Tito and Austin both coming off injuries. Where are those two guys at in recoveries, and how do you feel about the depth, just considering maybe some uncertainty that?
I feel a lot better about where we are now than we were a year ago. I feel like with Sebastian, Austin, Tito, and Foxy, that's the right group to be starting out with. I thought Tito, what was unfortunate is Tito was really coming on. That San Fran game was such a big game for him, playing against Trent, and the way he played just gave us so much confidence, and we were so disappointed because as a rookie, when they're coming on, like you can see it when that it's happened for them, or it's happening. And that's what happened for Tito, and then he got hurt. But we know that he can do it. And then Sebastian and Austin have been fantastic. And to get Foxy back rushing the passer for us was big. And now what we got to do is just keep getting the depth of that group more solid. Chris Hinton came in last year and did a really nice job for us. He was a pleasant surprise. Jay has done a great job developing him. Chris was a big factor in our playoff game and down the stretch for us. So he's a young guy, but keep building in the style that we want to build up front. But confident where we're going. Yeah, Dre. We've been in touch with Dre, and as you guys know, he had an awesome season for us. Fantastic fit from a culture standpoint. So we'll see where that goes.
Brandon, how's
Yeah, I think the big thing, and I said, it's just the respect for Austin Eckler that we have as an organization. Is just there couldn't be more respect for a player. What he's done for us, what he's accomplished for us, just the fullest respect. And then I think this is just part of the nature of the business of the NFL. What we're working through. We've had really good communication with his team. That's the truth, and we're just kind of working through that. And we don't have a timeline on what's going to happen, but we want him to be a Charger, but we'll see where it goes. The business of the NFL will take shape, but we love him, and hopefully, we can all come to a good resolution here.
How have the last couple months been like for you, just kind of moving on from that playoff loss?
Energizing. I think the toughest part when you lose is the if you're not playing in the last game, it's just the following weeks. That's the toughest because you're seeing teams that you've played, and you feel like, hey, we know that we can win those games, and that's the toughest part as a competitor. But what you got to do is to get on with it. You got to get moving, and that's what I try to do. Is, hey, we're moving to the next thing, and we go out and we hire Kellen Moore, Doug Nussmeier. We hire some new coaches on defense. You get going, and then you obviously are looking at the free agency period, and then you get headed towards the draft, and I think that's what gets you past a tough loss like that. But I think the biggest thing that I would tell you is that walking across that field at the end of the game, you're so confident where you're headed. As crushing as it was, you just know the type of locker room that you have. And the work that needs to be done for that result to be different. But I know that we have the right people in our locker room, and I'm just excited for our team to take shape and build itself up for this coming season. Yeah, Kyle, was fantastic for us. Very close with Kyle. Just did a fantastic job for us playing, leading, doing all the things that he's famous for, and so he's still out there, and again, so much respect for him, and we'll see where it goes, but he was fantastic for us. Hi. Yeah, good to see you, Ken. Yeah. I think the thought process is that the more specific the clock is, the more you would have that full, I think, in hearing Nick describe it, just more of an accurate picture of what play you would want to run, whether it's offense, defense, or kicking game, how those tenths of a second matter. That was his argument. So it's certainly a new argument. I kind of feel like it's March Madness, it's like basketball, so I was kind of picturing what that would look like, but I guess it would be like under 30 seconds. I think from a fan experience, it may add some drama, to television, which could increase revenue or something. But I haven't given it a lot of thought from a strategic standpoint. I haven't gone into that deep thought yet, but according to Nick, it would. So, oh yeah, he was excited. We'll all adjust. I can picture it, and I'm certain that those tenths of a second could change your thought process. So, regardless, anytime it's under 30 seconds as a head coach, there's a lot going on. So, hi, Nikki. Well, I think that people in the middle of your defense, the way we play, really matter because we ask our guys to see more than most. So, it's not more like it's not a height, weight, speed position. And I think that's hard for people that evaluate for a living. What they want is they want to quantify something. And it's hard to measure people who can think. So what you have to be able to do is you have to be able to see that. You have to be able to know that, what you're looking for, because you're not going to find it at the combine, at least them running and jumping. And what you're looking for is somebody who can process. And game speed is your 40 plus how well you process. That's what game speed is. When you hear someone say, man, he plays faster than he times, well, that's because he can really think, And so what you're looking for, it's safety, the way we play. And we've been lucky to join up with some fantastic safeties, as you know. We had Eddie Jackson, Adrian Amos. We had Justin and K-Jack in Denver, as you know. And then, JJ, John Johnson and Fuller, with the Rams. Now we got Derwin, and Lo Gilman doing some good things for us. So we feel like we know what we're looking for in that position. We got a young JT Woods, who we drafted last year, who we're really excited about. But I just think that's the hard part for some people when they talk about value, is really what you're looking for in a safety isn't what's happening at the combine. It's what's happening up here.
So how do you
Yeah, there's some trade secret there, Dickie. I think that what you're trying to do on the film is find the evidence of them playing in the deep part of the field where they're having to respond to the whole picture. You'd be surprised how little that happens in college because of the pace, because of how fast things are. The plays aren't extending downfield very often. Everything's happening very quick in college. Like running a fast play, it's a run play, or it's a bubble, you're not seeing like the NFL where like these plays like express themselves. There's things that are happening and you have to process panoramic, and see it all. You don't see that a lot in college, but you got to find the examples of them doing that. And there's certain places that you can look for that kind of play the way we play. But it's a lot of work. You got to go through it. Maybe you go through 1,000 plays of a safety. You may find 88 plays out of 1,000 of him doing that. And then you do that maybe over 3 years, and you got 240 plays. And then there's your answer. Hey, I know he can see. Or, hey, he can't see. And then it's thumbs down. So that's kind of how we go through the process. And it's one of those really impactful positions where if you have a great safety, the reason why there's value in it is because he's always in the way. He's always in the way. He's in the middle of everything. And he's the guy, besides the middle linebacker, who can impact the quarterback the most. You ask any quarterback coach who they're looking at the safeties. And so you need people back there who can affect the quarterback. And it takes a special person to be able to affect guys like Justin Herbert. Oh, man. Well, Daniel, I mean, you know the way we feel about our three guys. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Josh Palmer. That's the right group to be starting with for sure. And we've proven that we can throw the football. I mean, we threw for over 5,000 yards our first year, 4,700. But you're trying to be a group that's hard to defend every snap. Make them defend, the entire football field vertically, horizontally. And I think weapons come from a lot of different places. It can be a receiver, it can be a tight end, it can be a runner. What you're looking for is weapons. That's what makes you tough to defend, not just receivers. So I think what we're trying to become is a complete offense where you have to defend everybody. And I think those are the ones that are most challenging. I know that, speaking for Kellen and where he's been, what made them so challenging to defend in Dallas was you had to defend everybody. You had 3 really good receivers, you had 2 really good tight ends, and you had 2 really good backs. So you had to defend everybody on every snap, and they had a good O-line. And that's what we want to be.